everyone, this is Lisa and Nancy with Big Blend Radio, and we are recording here at the beautiful Rockhaven Bed and Breakfast, which is also an Airbnb destination for all you Airbnb lovers out there. Mm-hmm. We're in the heart of Harpers Ferry. I always want to say Harpers Valley,
PTA.
You know, Harpers Valley PTA. Here we go. And we're sitting with Innkeeper Lynn Pechuekonis. Did I get it right?
You did, yes.
Okay, that's a good name. And all the names around here, I can do Harpers Ferry barely, right?
Yeah.
But all the names around this whole region, I'm like, what? I'm to say that, but it is beautiful out here, and it's beautiful. We're sitting right on your patio, swinging chairs. So this is like a southern thing to do. Sit on the porch.
The front porch and the porch swing, yes.
Yeah, I like it.
Got the blue ceiling over it.
Oh, that keeps the flies away, right?
That's what they say.
Ah,
Well, good.
and I like
that.
Rockhaven because you've got all the rock. Is the whole house rock?
It's all made of cut stone. It's a American foursquare style house. Built in the 1920s, and it's a little bit unusual for it to be made of natural stone that late in the 20th century. It was much more common earlier in history.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like everybody else's here.
That's right.
And everyone's, it's almost like row houses and brick and Victorian kind of, like, what would you say about the architecture here?
So many of the houses right in Harpers Ferry were, they're called armory houses because the U.S. Army was here. They had the armory down in Lower Town, and the armory workers and the superintendents lived up here in this part of town. And so many houses were built for them.
Okay, so we're not actually in the park, the Harpers Ferry National Historic Site. We're not in that, right?
We're in the corporation of Harpers Ferry, the Residential Historic District, which is separate from the National Park owned land.
But you still go around and then it's right there.
It's right,
spread out everywhere, too.
Yes.
Yeah, because we went up to that one overlook. It's a historic thing beginning with a B.
Bolivar Heights.
Bolivar. Yeah, there you go. I was going to say Bolivia.
Yeah.
But Bolivar Heights, and
Yes.
there's all kinds of trails there, and you've got a historic graveyard cemetery out there, too.
Yes.
And the gazebo is not far from here. The gazebo is cool.
Yes, that was actually down on the river. Originally, there used to actually be a little, like an amusement park down there in the late 1800s, I guess. And it flooded, and the gazebo was, I think, the only thing they were able to save.
It was like a
from
raft.
the park, and they brought it up here so it could be preserved.
That's so it looks like kind of merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a cool one. And then you've got like a cannon there. There's cannons everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, talk about the Civil War, right?
That's right.
It's pretty, like, we were in Gettysburg yesterday, and then we did another battlefield on the way here. It's the Monocacy. Thank you. I'm just coming here for a whole new language.
Yes.
Monocacy, and then coming here, it's kind of because it's all connected. This history.
Yes.
So it's kind of like amazing to see how spread out it was, yet so united. 2 different states, right? Pennsylvania too, and then Maryland, and then now we're in West Virginia.
Yes.
How did we do that?
And we're right on the edge. Like, you can actually see the other 2 states from here when you look across the rivers.
Yeah, and you've got 2 rivers here too.
Yes.
Beautiful.
The Potomac and the Shenandoah.
See, I let you do the Potomac. I had a lesson about that this morning, and I was hoping you would say that for me. But I could do Shenandoah. So anyway, I do know how to speak. But the house here on the 1920s, talk about the owner and who built this, because this is a story of education. It's an amazing story.
Yes. So a lot of people know about John Brown coming here with the raid, trying to incite a rebellion among the slaves. That did not go well, but it was kind of considered a spark to the Civil War. So then after the Civil War, there were there's an estimate of maybe 700 African Americans in this area. And some Northern Free Will Baptists were missionaries down in this area, and they saw a need to educate these freed slaves, the former slaves, so that they could be successful.
Awesome.
And so they started schools, and then they decided they needed a normal school, which is a teacher training school. That's what they called it at the time. So they started Storer College, and that's just right up the hill from here. We can see it from our front porch. And it took over some of the former superintendents, the Army superintendent homes. The government gave the college their buildings. And so in the 1890s, a young man named William Saunders came to school. And his parents were from Louisa, Virginia. He was born there, and they were very likely former slaves. He was born in 1870, I believe. So he comes here in the 1890s and graduates. It's kind of a prep school for him. He's in his early 20s already. He graduates, goes to Bates College, gets a few jobs in different schools, mostly for black children, and then came back here to serve on the faculty in 1907. So a young woman named Inez Johnson graduated in 1908. We're guessing they kind of crossed paths that first year he was back. And she went away and taught school for a while and then came back to the area. And in 1914, they married, bought a piece of property in 1916. And then by the mid-1920s, were building a house. So Professor Saunders and Inez built this beautiful home. It's an American foursquare made of stone. It's quite imposing for its time and for the place. And cool. There's several other houses up and down the street where the professors up from the college live, but this is, I may be biased, but I think it's the most imposing, prominent house in the neighborhood.
And they're quite a story, too, because of his education. She was an educator,
Yes.
died very young, too,
Yes, she was like
unfortunately.
39, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, 39, 49, something like that.
Maybe it was 49.
But it's young. I mean,
young.
before she was
Yes.
50 to pass. And so for him, it sounded like they were truly in love. But you even have newspaper clippings of them writing articles and essays. And from what I was reading, he was really big on history, math, and science, and felt that the only way for a race, and he didn't even specify what race, the only way for a race to progress or be empowered is through education.
Which
Yes.
is really
True.
smart.
Yes.
Really smart.
And I think he was, except for the fact that we've been digging through the archives and both here and at Bates College, we've learned more about him, but he must have been a very prominent professor here, even though, he didn't have a PhD. There were very few professors at Storr that had PhDs, but he was here from 1907 until sometime in the 40s. He, I guess, officially retired and became a professor emeritus. You start seeing the title for him change when he's talked about, but he still is active then. He still is on agendas and programs for talks, giving talks. We met an alum at the 150th anniversary of Storr College a couple years ago.
Wow.
We met an alum who remembers that Professor Saunders, even in the 50s, kept his mailbox up at Storr College, and so he would walk up it every day to get his mail. But there was one day, a couple of days maybe, when he was not feeling well, so this student brought the mail down, and he remembers being in the house, in Professor Saunders' house, and seeing the books just everywhere around the house.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That when you hear about professors that are truly dedicated to it, it's just anybody in education that's truly in it. But I think most are.
Yes.
It's it's exciting because it's like, hey, you're making minds think and think and learn and do so and inspire. That's important too.
Yes, and it was a wonderful oasis here for the African American students. This was still the Jim Crow era, and even in Harpers Ferry, they weren't loved all over the place. So they were kind of segregated in this neighborhood. But they were in a place where people believed in them. They could learn. Their horizons were huge, and they were very hopeful. And you can read that in their writing about how hopeful they were about their future. And
see, I think you can go a long way on hope.
yes,
You really can. You can. It makes you feel, again, inspired and empowered. Positive. Yeah.
Positive instead of feeling like people are crossing the street when you walk by or that kind of thing.
yes.
So the house itself, had you found anything when you moved in here? I mean, so you've been here since 2017?
Yes.
So it wasn't a bed and breakfast beforehand?
No, it was not.
Okay.
we found the house when we were visiting Harpers Ferry as tourists ourselves, and quite by accident saw that it was for sale and decided just on a whim to call the realtor. And he let us in, and we just fell in love with the place immediately, and it was like the house wanted us to have it. Everything fell into place for us to move and my husband to transfer, and
nice.
It just all worked out well. And we had heard of Airbnb, and we had lots of extra space in the house and decided to give that a try. And we enjoyed having guests here, and people were coming. So then we decided to renovate another room in our lower level, and that's been very popular down there. It has a private entry.
Okay.
And then the next year we decided we didn't want to give up any more of our living space in the house because we love it so much, but we built a little cabin out in the back of the property. We call it a tiny cabin.
Oh, cool.
And so we also have guests coming to stay there.
So you're a bed and
really
breakfast
cool.
though, but you put continental goodies in for the morning, so like the yogurts and muffins and cereals and things, and coffee, Keurig coffee. So when we get up really early in the morning, we'll be running down the steps.
Yes, we're a non-traditional bed and breakfast. Both of our suites in the house have kitchenettes, so we can do that. We have a mini fridge and a toaster and microwave and all that, and the Keurig, and so that way guests can just eat when they want, however they want to look when they're eating. They don't have to meet strangers in a common area for breakfast, which some people really love that.
Right now with social distancing world, this is a good thing.
Yes, and a lot of younger people aren't so crazy about the social aspect of it either, so they like this style.
Well, I can imagine people, you've got, the rivers and a gazillion trails and cycling, and I mean, it's like there's the history, and like we were saying before we started recording the conversation, it's like I don't think you could finish all the history without staying like a week at least. There's just so many stories here.
It's also a great birding area.
Birding, the wildlife, nature. We saw an osprey. We went out to the overlook by the, what's that, Hilltop Hotel? That's crazy.
Hotel, yes.
That looks like ghosts could pop out of the windows at any time, or here's Johnny.
I think so, yeah.
This, The Shining. It's like
it's a Shining,
but then you have this beautiful overlook with gardens and flowers, and you see the river. Which one? Which river?
That's the Potomac on that side.
Okay, the Potomac. See, I can say it.
Good.
There was an osprey flying over us. We were filming. It was so beautiful. And those old bridges, and people were kayaking and tubing and just enjoying the river.
Yes. There's lots of recreational activities here. And like you said, some people don't realize what the history is until they get here and start exploring the town. And when we're not in a pandemic, the Park Service has museums down in Lower Town. Each one of the older buildings is a museum, and people begin to learn about the history that they never even realized.
So I wonder how many people are battlefield hopping, like what we've just done in the last 3 days.
We get occasional guests who are doing that. They go to Gettysburg and Antietam and then come here. But I'm at least the majority of guests we get here are here for the recreational activities.
Really?
We have so many people in D.C., Baltimore, even Pennsylvania, and New Jersey even, find this a really easy hop for a visit. And we get a lot of day visitors on the weekends, as you may have seen.
Yeah, you guys are busy.
Yes.
And I'm like, yay, people are out and about. But it's a very it's walkable, but there's a hill, everyone.
But people,
it's a good hill, but that's good for us.
Love to get outdoors here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's walkable. And I think there's always something to look at, whether it's, someone's house, the architecture of their house.
Yes.
It looks like a lot of shopping, a lot of quaint shopping and coffee shops. And
good restaurants.
Good restaurants,
yes.
yeah.
And tons of trees. I'm still like can't get past all the trees.
Can we talk about your garden? Your garden is incredible. You've got all these flowers and butterflies all over when you're going through there. And nice areas to just sit and relax in a chair and just chill out, under the sunshine.
Yes.
Just relax. I think people need this outdoor space for sure.
I agree. And even in the winter, right across the river in Loudoun County, Virginia, there are lots of wineries. So if it's too cold
See.
to hike and raft, you can go check out the winery.
You just
like
rang our
that.
bell.
Yeah.
We had to have our wine. Our first thing was we need to have wine out on the little deck.
On the deck,
So
yes.
everyone has an outdoor space here then.
Yes.
That's
yes.
really cool. Yeah, that's important, So in regards to the history, we've got, I was thinking about, Inez. Am I pronouncing
Yes.
it? Yeah. Because she was out teaching, was the younger compared to him, right? He was doing
Yes.
college. She was doing the youth.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, she was a public school teacher.
And I was reading that they have like a plaque for them, or there was like a bust of George Washington.
Yes, so after she passed, Professor Saunders bought a bust of George Washington, and there's a
that's
little
what it
plaque
is.
on
Okay.
it that says in memory of Inez and the class of 1908. And so it's actually in a conference room in the Storer College buildings. The college closed in 1955, and then the Park Service picked up the property, it reverted back to the government. So they use it as a training center, but one of their conference rooms has Storer memorabilia, and that bust is in there. And we were so excited when we came up on it when we were looking around.
That's really cool.
That's really cool.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I bet you're gonna find things. Do you find things here?
Occasionally.
Yeah. You find like little, what was that? Kind of unique things, like little artifacts.
Yes,
'Cause you've
around
got-
the yard. Yes,
you've got all
actually,
kinds
there's
of
a little
things.
collection there. My
I
husband
know.
has put
What
together.
you've got all kinds of rocks. Are there bones or?
There's a little broken piece of a teacup. There's a horseshoe somewhere around here.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Pieces from like a wood stove, like the iron pieces from that.
Oh
and-
wow.
Yeah. So,
What about the sewing machine here?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
that
Singer
was
sewing
just
machine
a
is
friend
cool.
gave it to me because my friends are figured out I like old things, and
Yeah.
anything vintage I say yes. If they say, would you like to have this?
Yeah.
I always say yes.
This is awesome. Give everybody your website.
It's Rockhaven-B&B.com, and it's the letters B as in boy, N as in Nancy, B as in boy.
Okay, so rockhavenbnb.com.
Yes.
Any social media that you do?
We're on Facebook and also Instagram.
Awesome. Everyone, you got to come here. It is just peaceful. I think it's time for another glass of wine.
That sounds like a
I
good
like all the B&B people that say N is for Nancy.
Oh, I
They're
know.
my favorite people.
As many times as Nancy gets to have her name out there, right?
I'm like, yay for me.
Yeah. Well, I hope people come out here. Really, I think, the climate of our country right now, to go into these historic places, I think is a very important time. And it was really nice today to see so many young people out. That's what we've been seeing. A lot of young people,
Discovering the history.
discovering the history.
For
We've seen that.
themselves.
Yeah. That's even the other
For
two
themselves.
battlefields. I'm like, okay, that's really good.
That
That's
is,
good to
yes.
see. And then some people, I heard this in Gettysburg. They were like talking to their grandparents or something. What infantry was so and so in? And so they were kind of doing their family history and reading out on the logs out there.
That's
So I wonder how many people come here and do some of their family history.
I'm sure a
Because I
lot.
mean, how many ancestors on both sides were here? You know.
Yes.
And then also the history, just the whole, African American, heritage out here, the cultural heritage, it's deep. So, yeah, family history spot. I think the room we're in would make an awesome writer's room.
Oh,
Because I know
also
you've got
had
a writer's background.
I do. I occasionally still do a little freelance writing, but we've also had a painter come and spend
Oh.
some time up there.
I bet.
Oh, yeah, the light.
Yeah.
Oh, I would go out on that patio and
Oh,
just,
yeah. And with all those trees and the birds.
It feels like you're up in the treetops, like
Yeah,
it's
and
like
then
your little
yes,
treehouse.
Even painting here, you could get
Yeah.
art lessons here if you were a teacher.
You can talk
This
to
is-
everybody in the neighborhood as they walk their
know.
That'd be
dogs.
lovely. Yes.
Are we in the South? Is it considered we're in the South?
Yes, but we're right. Washington D.C. is kind of like the middle ground. It
Yeah.
seems like, and we're just west of D.C. So, yes, the South. This used to be the state
You're
of
right on
Virginia.
the. You're in the middle. Yeah.
We became a state during the Civil War, and so we started out as a southern state of Virginia.
Okay, so so it's kind of you're on the. This is so different for us. We've never been Pennsylvania. We went up all the way up to Springville, Pennsylvania, right at the top, kind of on the top. the most furthest north we've ever been.
Okay.
So this is all completely new. I mean, it's just the architecture, everything is like, this is way different. The streets are narrow. It's very European. Very European to us, you know, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Everybody get out here, rockhavenbnb.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you.